Hi, everybody, and welcome to our Leadership Circle webinar. We are so excited to have you with us tonight. This is Madeline Plezak, the Associate Director of Advancement here at the Foundation, and we are excited to share with you lots of fun and kind of different updates. So first, you're going to hear from Marsha and Grady on a general Foundation update, especially as we are approaching year end. And then we have one of our Scarlet Ribbon Leadership Council members on, who is a recent graduate, Allie. And finally, Emily Rose will be sharing a little bit about Alpha Chi Omega's new risk management policy. So with that, I will turn it over to Marsha. And just one more note before I do turn it over, if you have questions throughout the webinar, you can use the question box on your control panel, and we will leave some time at the end of the presentation to run through those questions. So with that, Marsha, I will turn it over to you.
Great, thank you, Allie. Agenda item number 1, Marsha needs a new headshot. That looks nothing like me, but welcome everybody. I wanted to just start off by sharing some of the successes and updates on how things are going with the foundation this year. You all are some of our most generous supporters, and many of you are past board members of various sorts or past volunteers in different roles. And so we just feel like we want to be as transparent with you as we can in terms of how things are going and what might be going on that you can help us, particularly in terms of just making sure people know the impact that your dollars are having. So that's the biggest purpose of our Leadership Circle webinar, but also why I want to visit with you periodically to tell you how things are going. We have recently added 3 new staff members. 2 of these are backfills of prior positions, and 1 is a new position. Alex Kearney is the advancement officer who replaced Shanna Allman, and Shanna left us back in November. Alex lives in Jacksonville, Florida, and will be covering most of the market areas, the geographic areas that Shanna did. So if you previously worked with Shanna, you will likely be working with Alex now. The second backfill is Erin Parks, who joined us middle of April as our Foundation Operations Specialist. So she is the owner of really everything that makes us work. So if you have questions about gifts, if you need replacement receipts, if you just have general questions about the foundation, she knows who to get you to if she doesn't know the answers, but she's really the main person you would start with for just general questions about the foundation. And then Erica Legos joined us at the end of April, and she is our campaign project manager who will be working with us on the foundation's upcoming campaign that many of you have already heard a little bit about, but will not be a public thing until much later. So first of all, just wanted to thank you all for your support. Day of Giving was April 10th and 11th this year with our Empowered Women, Empower Women theme, and we raised over $186,000. We started with a goal of $150,000. And then we had a little bit of a shortfall in our Founders Day Challenge goal. So we had an internal goal that we would love to have Day of Giving help make up for our shortfall with our Founders Day Challenge goal, and it more than made that up. We had 109 first-time donors, which is incredible, as well as 88 donors who had not given for the past 2 years, who were re-engaged and re-energized by the Day of Giving work that we did. So many of you participated as challenge donors. It's a lot of fun with social media. I just sit there and do what my staff tells me. But Day of Giving, we just think is a way to involve people who might not normally feel like they want to get involved with giving to the foundation, but it's just a great way to share good stories about what we're doing to help each other, and also really hopefully excite and engage people that might not have been connected with the foundation before. As you all have heard, this year, 2018-19, we are awarding, in the process of awarding every quarter, a record $1.2 million grant to the fraternity to fund all those programs that you hear about so much everything that we can find that is fundable under IRS guidelines, that is a priority for the National Council and the fraternity. They request that help from us, and we were able to meet that $1.2 million grant this year. Going to be a lot of work continuing to sustain that over time. That's a lot of money. But we are really excited about what we were able to help the fraternity do this year. Those of you who work closely with collegiate chapters particularly understand that dues and fees are they increase over time, and they have to pay for those things that the foundation can't fund. But we want to keep the Alpha Omega experience as affordable for our members as we can. So the foundation will continue to do everything we can to help with what we are able to help with. LPI, those of you who are working with collegiate chapters, and some of you who work with alumni chapters. I see Bev Nichols is on the call, and the Mew Mew chapter in Kansas City area participates with LPI. LPI is our local philanthropic initiatives program. It allows our collegiate and alumni chapters to fundraise through the foundation, or to channel the funds that they raise locally through the foundation, then to be granted out to their local charity, typically a domestic violence awareness agency, but often it may be a cancer agency or other local charity that chapter chooses to support. This year has been a gangbuster year in terms of collegiate support, because we did open up our crowdfunding platform to allow those chapters to accept donations online. Which has been a little bit busier than we had even anticipated. We are really excited about that opportunity, but we are also looking forward to, at the end of this fiscal year, we'll be transitioning to a new platform for that program that will completely integrate and automate all of the gift processing related to LPI programs, as well as allow them to collect their ticket sales and their merchandise t-shirts or whatever sales through us, and have those routed back to the chapter without all the crazy accounting stuff that would be required today. So we're very excited about that platform, and are really looking forward to engaging even more alumni chapters in using that to benefit them, to help them with their online fundraising related to their philanthropy events. You can go forward, Madeline. Just wanted to give you a little bit of an idea. This is a lot of numbers, but the real place that I would love for you to pay closest attention to is the blue line. The blue line is our contributions this year, and we are, you can see green is 2015-16, which is our previous convention year, and then 2016-17 is in salmon. 17-18, which was also a convention year, was in gray, and then the gold number is our internal budget number, and then finally the blue is this year's numbers, and these are all year to date for all of those items through the end of April. We are seeing a great year. I will say we benefited from a significant unrestricted bequest that is in that big blue line on the far left. We are really, we've got $1 million goal again this year for fundraising. As many of you know, we had last year had the highest Real Strong Women Fund unrestricted giving in a non-campaign year ever. So we were really excited about that, and set our goal this year to make or beat that goal. And it's a challenge in a non-convention year. There are a lot of people that give generously at Starboot who don't give as much in those off years. And so we are really, really hoping to push this number even higher. Temporarily restricted is the next group. Permanently restricted is the next. Doesn't mean a lot to you guys other than that those are gifts for specific purposes. You can see the big green line in 2015-16 was a $500,000 bequest that we received that was restricted to particular purpose. Housing is just going gangbusters right now. You can see that's the fourth group of lines. There are several chapters that have significant fundraising efforts underway right now. Our Beta Sigma chapter at the University of Georgia is actively working on a major almost complete renovation of the property through the NHC, and that fundraising is coming through the chapter housing funds at the foundation. Our chapter at SMU is also in the middle of a major campaign, along with several smaller campaigns that are in those numbers. We expect that fundraising for housing will continue to be a very just robust area of fundraising because that is a significant need. It's a priority need for the fraternity because anything that we can do through fundraising keeps the chapter members from having to pay for that through their lease. So if you know anybody that's on the local house corps that's interested in learning more about our chapter housing funds, please let me know. Feel free to reach out to me directly or to Elizabeth Donaldson, but I sometimes am easier to reach because Elizabeth is part-time, as you know. And then I mentioned LPI. It's really going very strong, and we're really excited about providing that venue for our collegiate chapters, but also they get, and collegiate and alumni chapters, they receive recognition for their giving through that program. And so it's a great way for them to feel how they contribute to Alpha Chi Omega. Okay. I mentioned chapter housing funds. Again, feel free to shoot any questions about those my way. I wanted to mention Women in Wisdom events. We are in collaboration with the Lifetime Engagement Department to host these Women in Wisdom networking / professional development events across the country. We did 3 2 years ago. We have done 4 this year, and currently are looking at 4 to 6 of those events for next year, with locations to be determined. We can't hit everywhere, but they've been incredibly impactful. Foundation loves them because it is one of the programs that we fund that we can actually be at and see, because we don't typically get to go to the collegiate chapters and see those things happening. They are, we were in Chicago 3 weeks ago. They're actually in Boston tonight. And in Chicago, we had about 45 women signed up. It was a horrible, horrible weather evening, and so we lost a few people. But they, ranged from recent graduates all the way up to, retirees, and everybody made great connections. Both from a few people got recruited to be alumni chapter officers. Quite a few people made personal mentoring connections. And so it was just a lovely evening, and Angela Harris spoke that night. We have different speakers at each of those. So coming soon, hopefully, to your area. We will be announcing those locations, hopefully near the first of the year, so people will know to be able to plan ahead. Just also hope you received the special impact reports that just went out in direct mail. And we're continuing to try to segment our impact reporting and increase the amount of feedback we are giving you on what your dollars are helping to do. And so those were personalized to the donor. Where the chapter presidents were able to participate, the donor would have received a message from her own chapter's president. If not, I will say mine's one that didn't turn her step in. You would have seen a message from our chapter president at our Michigan State chapter, all of them telling about how Leadership Academy impacted them this year, which was great. So real quickly, just to talk about Leadership Circle, as you all know, we introduced the Leadership Circle program in 2015-16, and it has continued to grow every year. Our goal this year was a net increase of at least 10% in Leadership Circle. We have 23 new donors already, so we've met that part of our goal, but our renewals are happening right now. A lot of people give at the end of the fiscal year. 187 of our 262 have renewed. So we hope that if you have not yet renewed your Leadership Circle membership through your gifts, that you will do that before July 31st. Our year-end direct mail piece does go out next week, actually, and that's usually a great vehicle for people. There'll be a reply envelope, which makes it easy, as well as a link directly to the giving page. So thank you for your support, and we look forward to having you continue as a Leadership Circle member. We also hosted Discovery Experience in January. We talked a little bit about that. We had 52 donors who made gifts of $2,500 or more last year to the Leadership Circle qualifying funds, and that was an incredible year for us. So we really are grateful for that and hope that people will be interested in coming back to Discovery Experience this next January during Leadership Academy. And we have an agenda that we're beefing up from last year's and looking forward to having people be there for that. Okay, and I will turn things over. Oh, did I miss anything? No, I don't think I missed anything. I will turn things over to Allie Cantalupo.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Marsha. So I'm Allie, and I actually just recently graduated from Florida Gulf Coast University, a part of the Kappa Chi chapter. And I just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit today about my collegiate experience and really how it helped me prepare, for alumni life and just life after college in general. So, I'm going to be completely honest. Like, I did not know anything about Greek life. I knew nothing about sororities or Alpha Chi Omega coming into college. And I actually had the mindset of I'm not going to go through recruitment. I'm just going to, go to college and do school and see where I can get involved through that. And I walked into our student center during my first semester freshman year, and there was this booth and two consultants, Alpha Chi Omega consultants. I had no idea who they were at the time, but they just had the biggest smiles on their faces and ran up to me and said, have you ever heard of Alpha Chi Omega? And I was like, what is that? And, they told me all about it and invited me to get to learn more. And, eventually I had an interview as Kappa Chi was not on campus yet, but being installed. So, being a part of Alpha Chi Omega and doing what I did and, taking that leap and not knowing anything about sororities and just taking those interviews and going through the process, like I couldn't be more blessed and happy with myself that I did that. So, I always am so thankful for Alpha Chi and everything I've done with that. So, starting out freshman year and into sophomore year, I wasn't as involved as I definitely was junior and senior year. And sometimes I'm a little upset with myself that I didn't get involved sooner, but, didn't really know still what sorority life was like. So, after I got to know it a little more and got to know some more sisters, I started to figure out some non-exec positions that I wanted to do. So I started out being resource chair. I actually did that freshman and sophomore year and just really worked closely with our intellectual development vice president, just doing dean's list dinners and things like that. And, I realized that I really liked being, a leader in the chapter, and I really enjoyed working and doing events and planning things like that. So as you can see at this picture, this was our exec board that I was a part of. I was Panhellenic delegate. And at the time, I didn't know too much about Panhellenic delegate before I applied. But really what was so great is our advisor. So Carol was my advisor during when I was Panhellenic delegate, and she just took the reins and was so helpful. And I really enjoyed going to those General Assembly meetings with Panhellenic exec and being an advocate for Kappa Chi and for Alpha Chi Omega on Florida Gulf Coast University's campus, and being able to vote on certain things and recruitment rules and everything like that. Just I feel like Panhellenic delegate was the position that I really got to learn so much about Greek life in general and just about Panhellenic as a whole. I got to plan events that brought a bunch of sorority women together, and just being a part of something that was bigger than myself. And I really learned so much from that experience and really became more of a leader. So I really think being on the executive board was such an experience. And I believe, if any collegian has that drive or even like thinks they should be on the executive board, they should really try and get advice from other members who have been on the board. And everyone's always so welcoming and willing to give their advice. And I've really learned that through my executive board experience. And Madeline, you can go to the next slide if that's okay. So once I got on exec and I learned there was so much more really out there for me, and especially as a collegian, there's so many things to volunteer for in Alpha Chi, and I feel like, you know, taking advantage of those things was something that really got me closer to the sorority. So, you know, I just took a leap and applied to be a convention page. We actually had a convention, I think it was, you know, in 2016 when it was in Orlando, and we had a sister who was a page there as well, and she told me how great of the experience it was and that I should do it. So I did that whenever on the last convention we had, and it was such an amazing experience and something that I really hold close to my heart. I feel like it's kind of a once in a lifetime thing that you can only do as a collegian, and I met so many amazing people and got to really see what convention was like with the national council meeting, and just getting to set everything up was really cool. Especially since I am a hospitality major. So I graduated with resort and hospitality management degree. So I do a lot of event things, and I actually did an internship in events. So having to kind of set up this convention and, you know, work alongside everyone who did plan it and did set it up was something that I really, really loved. So this was something that I'm so glad I did, and being able to travel to Austin and meet so many incredible, real strong women was such an honor and really a blessing. So as I said, I'm, you know, Panhellenic delegate was so eye-opening, and just being a part of Panhellenic as a whole. And I love to say that I'm definitely a Panhellenic woman, and I believe in having my Alpha Chi Omega sisters, and I also have my Panhellenic sisters. So I applied to be a Rho Gamma. Recruitment counselor, Rho Gamma, we kind of go hand in hand with what we call ourselves. But I was on the recruitment team for 2018, and we actually are affiliated at FGCU. So the PNMs did know that I was an Alpha Chi Omega, but I actually had about 14 PNMs when I went through it, and just having to really inspire these girls and let them know that no matter what, you know, home you find your heart in, that it's going to be the right home for you. And there was lots of tears, there was a lot of joy, and a lot of counseling these young women. And you know, I was only 21, so, you know, and they were just 18, so I wasn't that much older than them, but just having, you know, they look up to you, and you know, they think you have all this knowledge about where they should go. And you know, it was really up to them. And just, I was taught, you know, throughout the summer when we were in training, that to give them the confidence that they know, they really do know in their heart where they need to be going. And it's actually funny, no one in my recruitment group went Alpha Chi Omega, but I felt like I did my job then, that, you know, there wasn't any bias, you know, they didn't feel like they needed to go Alpha Chi because of me, that they found their home, and I helped them through with that. So, you know, this really gave me a total different perspective on different sororities we have on campus, and, you know, their values. And we really value values-based recruitment at FGCU. So, you know, we don't focus on any frills or anything like that. And just being on this recruitment team helped me grow so much as a person, and I became more outgoing and confident, and having so much support from these women, and then continuing that support to the PNMs was really, really great. So what's next for me? So I actually just accepted a position not so long ago with PSAV. Not many people know what it is, but I will be the sales coordinator for PSAV at the JW Marco Island Marriott. So what I'll be doing is, if a convention, let's say Alpha Chi Omega, comes to the JW Marco Island Marriott, if a convention comes in, I'll be working with them on audio and sound, and just really talking to the customers. So it's going to be a lot of face-to-face interaction. And you know, I really think just being a part of the sorority experience and being an Alpha Chi Omega has really prepared me for my alumni life and outside of college, and given me so much confidence to be able to go into this role, this new role that I'm doing. I'm starting Monday, and there's no women in my office. It's all men. So I'm going to be the real strong women there and go for it and be confident. And, Alpha Chi Omega has really given that for me. So that's it. Thank you.
Perfect. And I will just add to that Allie is wrapping up her term on our Scarlet Ribbon Leadership Council. So she has served with 7 other collegiate women over the past year to really kind of be that right-hand person to the foundation. So not only has she done all of this at her chapter level, but she's really kind of been hands and boots on the ground for everything that we've done this past year. So thank you, Allie, and thank you for sharing that. I think it's just a nice tie to see, what Alpha Chi has done for you in your journey and how it will translate into your next chapter. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
So next, and I will jump the slide here. I'm excited to introduce to you all Emily Rose Jacobsen. So Emily Rose works at headquarters as the Assistant Director of Harm Reduction, and she is joining us tonight to share a little bit more about some of our new policies related to risk management. So Emily Rose, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Madeline. Thank you all so much for your time this evening. I really appreciate the opportunity to share a little bit with you all about the world of risk management and the work that the Collegiate Experience staff has been doing with the help of many volunteers over the course of the past several months. I really love my job at Alpha Chi Omega headquarters. I think I really believe that being a member of a fraternity sorority can be the premier leadership experience that a person can have in college, that, like Allie was just talking about, can certainly be a launching pad to so many other things that happen for fraternity and sorority alumni. And so I think that a piece of that is looking at how do we help our collegiate members make choices that are reflective of our organization, of who they are becoming. And so where I kind of wanted to frame this conversation is looking at what are the things then that we are trying to address through risk management that led us to a place of saying, let's look at our policies, let's look at what else can we do to provide the tools that will help our women make good choices. And so 3 things that continue to be really big in the risk management world. So any conference I go to, any call I'm on, conversations I'm having with other headquarters peers who do this type of work is really strongly rooted in 3 things that have been top risk management trends for the past 4+ decades. And so those are the issues that relate to hazing, alcohol, and sexual assault. So those continue to be high on our priority of how do we address those things, what types of policies in place help promote the right environments, where hopefully we're teaching people about safe alcohol consumption, mitigating potential for unfortunate circumstances to unfold, while also keeping in mind that we're in a bit of a wave of some new risk management trends. And so when I say that, I don't mean that the concepts themselves are necessarily new, but the way that they impact college students, and so the way they're impacting fraternities and sororities is just changing a little bit. And so that was part of what we also were looking at. How do we address that? How do we build that into the policy, into the way that we'll educate and frame our philosophy working with our students? And so 3 things that come to my mind there is mental health has been something that Alpha Chi Omega has done a lot to look at how can we put materials in front of our collegiate members, in front of our advisor, volunteer folks who are helping our collegiate women who are facing mental health concerns, volunteers who are facing mental health concerns themselves as they take on that work. And so that has certainly become something we've had to evaluate of how does that play into the way we work with our chapters and the support we provide. And so when we think about what research tells us of 1 in 4 adults in that age range of 18 to 24 have a diagnosable mental health illness, that certainly then has an impact on what the college landscape looks like, knowing that many college students face things primarily rooted in anxiety and depression, that certainly has a role when our members look to Alpha Chi Omega as their family, as their support system, as a place that they can turn to for a listening ear and for support. And so that is certainly something that we have spent a lot of time thinking about when it comes to some of our programming and dialogue that we have with chapters. Another piece is drug use and abuse of drugs. And so when I say that, part of that encompasses things like the illicit drugs, so things like cocaine, and the way that that impacts college campuses now, the way that opioids and other prescription medication that are prescribed, but that's one thing, but when it's being misused and being abused, the role that that can play in a chapter experience can certainly be concerning. And then the other twist to that is kind of the role then that drug use and abuse plays when it is also in combination with alcohol. And so then what is that doing to alcohol in general as part of the risk management trends is also something to open up that conversation to not only are college students consuming alcohol, but sometimes there are drugs at use as well. And so what can the dangers of those two substances in combination mean for a person? And then I would say the third piece of this is that 2017 was quite a pivotal year in the fraternity sorority industry as it relates to risk management, where there was a lot of like shaking to the core there with the student deaths that occurred as a result of alcohol related hazing in the fraternity world, and kind of the role that played with university evaluation of the need and really the request and the demand that collegiate fraternity sorority members understand that universities are always going to protect the health and safety of members before they're looking at the membership. So how do we make sure that we're protecting our organization and our chapters by focusing on the way that our members take care of their health and safety, those that are maybe their guests at our events, those types of spaces that we have a real ability to control and to provide some guidance to what our response is to challenging environments that are part of the fraternity sorority experience on a college campus. And so that's a little bit about risk management trends and kind of what led us to the conversation about prevention education and the role that we really want that to play. So last year, for those of you that were at convention with us, we talked about that in a couple different ways. It came up throughout the course of convention and was shared that we want prevention to be at a focus point for Alpha Chi Omega in our risk management work. And so a huge part of that has been the hiring of the Assistant Director of Prevention Education, who is doing a lot to evaluate the way we educate, the types of programming we're offering, what are the gaps in terms of things that we're doing, and then some of the challenges we're still facing. How do we help provide tools and resources to our chapter members to help us overcome some of those things and be in a place where we don't have to always go to a reaction phase, but that we're building in things that help people make health and safety choices along the way. And so that really also became a part of the Alpha Chi Omega Harm Reduction Task Force that came together in 2018. That's a combination effort of staff members at headquarters in addition to volunteers who are working with us. And really where we started is evaluating the prevention framework, if you will. So Madeline, if you want to move us to the next slide. So this is really where that group started looking at in terms of the prevention framework. So looking at what's our risk management philosophy, and then how does that drive what we need our policies to be, what our procedures and tools for helping chapters achieve those policies are going to be, how are we going to educate about them, and what other types of programming and materials do we provide that help achieve compliance with those policies that speak to the heart of our philosophy of what we believe. And then ultimately, what are our measurements for enforcement? What does good progressive discipline look like in the organization and when necessary for individuals or collegiate chapters as a whole? And how does all of this kind of play together to create a safe and wonderful collegiate experience for our chapters? And so this moved us into then our philosophy statement that came together and was a result of the first phase of the work that the task force did in 2018 and then is continuing to do and kind of mold the way that this philosophy statement builds into some of those other pieces. And so the beginning statement of the risk management philosophy is there in front of you on this screen, and the heart of that is really that we're expressing how we believe members should act or intervene as women of Alpha Chi Omega who embody our real strong woman experience while keeping health and safety a priority of their collegiate experience for themselves, for their chapters, and for the organization. And so that's a little bit about the philosophy statement from the high level piece. And then the next part of the philosophy statement is looking at then what specifically are we saying? Our expectations of membership are things that we want our members to feel are inherent parts of their membership that they're achieving and leading through, that are going to help us have a great and healthy collegiate experience. So those are things like we're going to follow the federal and state laws as it relates to alcohol consumption. We're going to work with our host institutions in collaboration to address issues, particularly those related to alcohol misuse and abuse, because of the impact we know that has on college students. We're going to address negative behaviors using evidence-based education. We're going to provide mature adult guidance, tools, and we're going to understand that there are consequences for our actions, and that is sometimes part of the learning process, and that's okay. But we're going to use the fraternity process through the local self-governance system and CRSB to hold people accountable when necessary. And that, like I mentioned before, we're going to use progressive discipline strategies with our chapters when necessary. So that's really speaking about the national fraternity piece. And then the bottom line there, which has been said by Angela and by others that are really helping us lead the way as an organization and as Alpha Chi Omega in the industry of fraternities and sororities, that health and safety of our members is paramount to the Alpha Chi Omega experience and should be what every member strives for. So we know that we have an awesome experience to provide to collegiate women, but the focus point of that has to be the health and safety piece. To kind of help us achieve what we want that to look like. So in this slide, this picture is really showing how we have rolled this out to our volunteers and to our collegiate members of then what does this look like in all working together. So the green bubbles on the outside are speaking to that first introductory paragraph of what is our philosophy, what are components of what we believe should be a part of our risk management efforts. And then the red bubbles on the inside are about then what are steps that we take to get there, what are things that need to be in place to help our chapters achieve good risk management and a healthy and safe experience that's at the center, leading to that real strong woman experience. So that's kind of the summary of how we then came to our policies and what we then believe should be in place to help our chapters clearly understand the way that they can achieve that. And so in the next slide, it looks at what are then the policies that were refreshed? What work did we do then with that was rolled out? And so the first piece of that was evaluating the alcohol and drug policies that we have as an organization that apply to all of our current chapters and will apply to those that we have in the future. And so an interesting challenge and opportunity with that is looking at how do we write policies that are able to suit all chapters that are on all types of college campuses of all sizes, are also impacted by their own university and college environments. So we needed to be able to write them in a way that was broad, but getting to the heart of what's necessary to have healthy and safe events and a healthy and safe collegiate experience that were in a way that were written with simplicity so that it was clear, here is what we are saying, and it's not about trying to play gotcha or provide multiple types of exemptions or those types of things, but be very clear on here is what should be in place as it relates to the role of alcohol and drugs in an organization in Alpha Chi Omega. And so those policies cover things like what's required for having an event with alcohol. So those cover things like event monitors, transportation, contracts with venues that we're going to work with, the need for insurance, right? Those kinds of things are all a part of the policies, as well as some restrictions on what are things that we are agreeing that we don't do as an organization and as chapters that we're not going to do that speak back to that philosophy that don't lead us to a place of having a healthy and safe experience. So that's what's covered in the alcohol and drugs part. The hazing policy also got a refresh. There were some words in the hazing policy that probably don't resonate as much with our college students. One word that I'm really glad is no longer in our hazing policy was buffoonery. So we got a little bit more clear on what our hazing policy means and looks like how that relates to our philosophy. And then we also felt it was important to include a piece on retaliation because we also want members to feel like if something undignified and unkind is happening to them or others, or they have been a part of those behaviors and are trying to share that and ask for help and ask for resources and have some dialogue about how can they perhaps achieve something that they thought they were achieving through those behaviors in a better way and in a way that treats people with respect and kindness. We want to be able to do that in a way that they're not fearful of being punished for that, or that others will then treat them poorly and won't have any consequences. So that was an important part to us, that's clear that we want to have an open relationship with our chapters and they shouldn't be fearful of retaliation. Our human dignity and anti-bullying statements stayed very similar and consistent with what they've looked like previously, and really explaining what we believe relationships between our members should look like, how we treat each other, how we treat potential new members, members of their university and college environments, and continue to be something that we are very proud of as an organization, that we are demonstrating the real strong women experience through our thoughts, words, and actions, and treating our own chapter members, but also the larger community. So those continue to be 4 major sections of our risk management policy. So in the way that this was rolled out and keeping in kind of what the prevention framework looks like is, of course, then how do you provide the education and support around the policies and the philosophy in general, but then also what other tools are there to help our collegiate chapters be successful in risk management. And so we started with a webinar that was done specifically with our collegiate volunteer advisors, as we know that they help provide so much support to us as a staff and to their collegiate women of how to interpret things, how to read and understand what information they're being given and the expectations that they're being given. And so we started with the collegiate volunteer advisors, and then at Leadership Academy, we had the great opportunity to bring in Dr. Lori Hart. So any of you who were a part of the discovery experience at Leadership Academy saw her speak. She led our risk management task force when it originally came together, and really looking at how do we evaluate our policies to kind of bring them up to speed and address some of the challenges that we face in the fraternity sorority industry. And so she was able to talk to all Leadership Academy attendees about risk management in general. Why is it important? Why does that matter to us? And then she had a specific session with chapter presidents and VPs risk management who were in attendance to help us roll out the refreshed policies, and really did that as a train the trainer model, so that those officers could take it back to their chapters and say, here's what Alpha Chi Mega's policy looks like, here's how we read and interpret and then act based on these things. And so Lori will also be in attendance with us at Volunteer Summit in just a few weekends to also talk about risk management with our volunteer base. And so I'm really looking forward to that and having her with us, as we know that advisors and volunteers provide so much guidance to our chapters in these areas. And so I think Lori will really be able to give some additional nuggets of information to help continue those conversations, to strengthen those conversations. So we'll have her with us. In addition to the work done at Leadership Academy with the VP's risk management in particular, there were several policy refresh webinars and resource material webinars that took place following Leadership Academy, talking about that event planning guide that you see there on the right. So there was an updated event planning guide created by the Harm Reduction Task Force that includes resource materials on transportation and the event monitor piece, and how do you have a BYOB, bring your own beverage event? What does that look like? How do you set that up and do that in a safe way? And so we talked about those through webinars. We talked about chapter insurance and what does that mean to the whole risk management thing and event planning. So those were additional educational materials that were provided. We continue to provide evidence-based educational programming. So those are things like alcohol skills training program and additional programs like Behind Happy Faces and the JED Foundation Gatekeeper training. So the new position that is held by Mr. Devin Hall, he continues to look at where are those gaps, where are things we can provide additional resources to that are evidence-based programming that will help us with these areas of risk management that have been discussed. Additionally, we continue to have the risk management specialist team that works with all of our collegiate chapters and provide great support there. And then our powerful partnerships continue to be with particularly the Harm Reduction Alliance. So Alpha Chi Omega has a long-standing partnership with Zeta Tau Alpha, Pi Kappa Phi, and Sigma Nu. A major effort of that group is the Harm Reduction Alliance posters that cover various risk management topics and kind of hot issues happening on college campuses, and share some educational messages and provide a resource to participate in chapter dialogue about that topic. Through that partnership, we are also working with the One Love Foundation and Active Minds, which does work regarding mental health. And then Alpha Chi Omega is also a sponsor of hazingprevention.org. So we continue to grow that relationship and evaluate materials that hazingprevention.org provides that we can also implement with our chapters and deliver to our collegiate officers to help them in their roles. And so that's kind of high-level overview what all has been going on in the risk management world and the updates we've been doing with our policies and our supporting materials of the past several months, year in particular. And so I really appreciate all of the support that you all give, our collegiate chapters that you give us as an organization through funding for our sisterhood. So I am really grateful for the opportunity to share some of this with you all, and know that you all play various roles in our ability to continue to be a leader in risk management in the fraternity sorority industry. So I thank you all and the foundation team for allowing me to join you tonight.
Great. Thanks so much, Emily Rose. Marsha, I will turn it over to you. It looks like we might have a few questions that have come in. Just as a reminder, you can use the question box that is on your control panel to type those in, and we'll take the last few minutes of tonight's webinar to run through any questions that you might have.
Great. Well, most of these are I would say comments. First of them is from Kelly Curry, yay Allie, yay Kappa Chi. So Allie, I think you are getting the most shout outs tonight. And Darlene Stevenson, who is down in your neck of the woods, just said it was so great to meet you and your sisters along with other Delta Pi Delta members as they welcomed you into the alumni world in April, and wishing you the best of luck and thanking you.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah, so that is, I will say, you know, for Allie, I think everybody on this call would agree with me. The best thing you can do wherever you end up is to find that local alumni chapter and reach out, because those women will be resources to you in incredible ways. Darlene Stevenson does have a question here about updates on the sorority situation at Harvard. And I am going to take a note of that question, Darlene, and pass that one along, mainly because Katie Gaffin was not able to be with us tonight because of a conference that she's attending, and Angela Harris is actually at an extension presentation. And so I think that's probably not my bailiwick. I will say that the main place that Katie sends me when I have questions about it is the best place to find the most current information, because so much of it is bigger than Alpha Chi and hard for us to keep up with, is the standuptoharvard.org website. You can actually sign the petition there. You can also sign up to receive updates, and they have videos, they have what's up with the lawsuit and updates on that, as well as any news links to news stories that may be out currently. And those are, I think, probably the best resources, because there's just so much going on that it's really difficult for any one person, I think, at Alpha Chi to keep up with it, although I know that Katie and Angela follow that news very, very carefully. So I'll pass along that you asked that question, but I would also refer you to that website, because I think it is a great resource if you are curious about what's the latest on that. Okay, what other questions do we have tonight? Oops. Oh, Antifa Cantor is echoing what I just said. She must be signed up for the newsletters, because she says they do great informative mailings. So that's always good to know. Other questions? We'll give it a minute. Allie will be sending out invitation for our next Leadership Circle webinar. Also remind you, she will be sending out an email with the recording and the slides. So if you missed part of it, or if you know of someone who didn't get to participate, remind them that that video or that audio recording will be coming out shortly as well.
And I'll also add there too, Marsha, that if you are part of our Leadership Circle Facebook group, I do share the recording there as well. And a lot of the panelists that are sharing on these calls are also in that group. So if you ever, are rewatching or can't make a webinar and would like to partake in discussion, that is a great place to do so. So also a resource to you and an additional place to have this information.
Great. Well, if there are no other questions, we'll go ahead and wrap up for the evening. Again, we thank you for your support of the foundation and all the many things we're able to do as a result of your gifts and your generosity over the years. Just a reminder that we'll have another call in 1 quarter. And if you have questions anytime between those webinars, feel free to reach out to Madeline or to me. You can get help from Erin Parks, and if you work with one of our advancement officers in your area, they will be happy to help you with anything you might need. So thank you so much and have a great rest of your evening.